Ryan, these are difficult times right now for soybean farmers. What's ASA's message to them?
It's been a really rough few months for soybean farmers, for agriculture in general. It started last July with trade issues. That's really grown into some weather events. But on top of that, we have some challenges with biodiesel. We're trying to think forward and look forward on that. And infrastructure continues to crumble, and we need to reinvest in that. So we have a number of issues that we need to look at. And our message to farmers is we're looking at this short term, immediate, what's going on right now, midterm, what are we going to do the next couple of years, and then long term, a decade out, what are we going to be doing and what are we doing today that can influence that next generation? And so it's really trying to, on the short term, trying to survive the economic storm and working with the U.S. government on disaster payments or market facilitation program payments. The midterm is trying to find some new markets, trying to figure out how to move this pile of soybeans. And then long term is really focused on new markets and what else can we do to ensure economic stability in soybeans long term.
So I think there's a sense that congressional members, when they come back to their districts, they get it. They're hearing from their constituencies, particularly those in the Midwest that are hurting really bad right now. But is it your sense that Congress as a whole and the administration truly understand the scope and the severity of what's going on right now?
No, absolutely not. And that is a huge focus for us. It's just simple education. And it's not to demean anybody that's in Congress, but it's purely if you're from an urban congressional district and you've never stepped foot on a farm, you keep hearing about all of these different things out there, but you don't have an educated opinion because you haven't talked to a farmer. You haven't stepped foot on a farm. You don't understand agriculture as it operates today. And that's on us. That's on our ability to educate them on what is the environmental footprint of farmers today, especially relative to 1950 or 1900, and help them understand how impressive agriculture is today. And we do that using farmers and having them tell their story in offices, and then our staff in Washington, D.C. help explain the message as well.
So we know that this is a time of high anxiety for soybean farmers. In your role, and again, you've been in your role for just about a year now as well.
18 months.
18 months, year and a half. So
I'm
rounding up almost 2.
I'm an elder statesman, Ryan. I'm the elder statesman.
So
here.
almost 2, rounding up in your role. What keeps you up at night in your role leading the USB and these issues that are impacting farmers?
Well, there are 2 main things that keep me up at night. I'm not a very good sleeper anyway, so this is not big news. But first of all, what are we going to do with all the beans? That's what really keeps me up at night. Ryan mentioned that there are regulatory and other areas that ASA works with. Very rarely do we ever get an issue that doesn't have a policy component and a marketing component. And that's why it's so important that ASA and USB work together, because the issues don't divide themselves beautifully like that, right? So when you have a huge supply, Ryan mentioned markets. Markets are top of mind for me, trying to move all these beans. And I don't just mean markets like international markets, which is an area of focus for USB, trying to find new international markets that we can move the beans that we're not moving into China, for example, into. That's one area of focus, but I'm talking about markets that are new consumer markets. What else can we do with soybean oil? I mean, for example, right now we've got some really promising projects at USB that replace petroleum. Soybean oil replaces petroleum in asphalt, for example, or in concrete, or in rubber production, or in lubricants where petroleum would be used. And so we're looking for products, new products, which create new markets, and new markets worldwide to make sure that we move beans. Now, we were very, very proud that we found we moved some investments from what we call expansion or mature markets worldwide to basic markets just before the China thing broke. So we may have been a little bit later than we wish we had been had we had a crystal ball. But I think that we're getting on it as far as the marketing side of it and where we take all those beans.
And we could spend a couple episodes on just the subject of how the checkoff functions. And but from your vantage point, does the checkoff process function in a good way for the soybean farmer in terms of how you do your work? We know that the checkoffs are under some scrutiny.
You bet.
how is it working for the soybean industry?
Well, I'm going to tell you that the checkoff is a mandated program, federally mandated program, and there are pros and cons with that, right? The pros of that is that everybody pays and it's fair, okay? And that's what I think when they passed mandated programs, that's what they were thinking of, is there are not a lot of free riders in a checkoff program, everybody pays. So that's the good part. The less good part, the bad part, is that when government oversees a program, it gets a little less efficient. Okay? And so that's the good and the bad, I think, of checkoff programs. But as far as serving farmers, checkoff programs mind the store where farmers aren't engaged, right? Farmers are on their farm making supply. Checkoff program minds the rest of the store so that the demand side is pulled. So in that way, we serve farmers very well. Could it be improved? Yes. For example, I think the way that ASA and USB are getting along these days means that both organizations are moving at the speed of trust. And the speed of trust means that that the time formerly spent on what are they doing or what are they doing is now we're moving forward together, let's go. That serves soybean farmers better than I think we have in a long time as both organizations.
And from an efficiency standpoint, go ahead, build on that.
I was just going to say, I think that's a credit to the farmer leaders that we have in place right now. I mean, they are focused on all the programs that Polly just referenced. They're saying, how do we hold ourselves accountable? How are we transparent? How are we thinking forward? That's farmer leaders today. I mean, this isn't something that's old school. They're really trying to think forward. It's fun. It's fun to be a part of our farmer, or to be engaged with our farmer leaders today.